Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Kiff Says, a place where we break down the legal aspects of your creative business, and I try to convince you that the law doesn't have to equal scary. A couple weeks ago, I co-hosted a webinar with Maria Brophy, and one of the items that we talked about was completing your copyright registration, and how the copyright registration system is a little Web 1.0 and not the most intuitive system. Today, I was sitting down to register the copyrights for my 30-day challenge, the course content that I just recently launched, and I thought that that might make a good behind-the-scenes video of how I go about registering my copyright and showing you that system. So, without further ado, I'm going to hop over to the Copyright Office's website and show you how this goes. So we've landed on copyright.gov. And what I will do is go ahead and go right here to register a copyright. And that takes us to the eCo system page. And we'll go ahead and click this button to log in. It opens up a new window. And since I'm already logged in, you're not going to see me entering my username and password. However, you'll go ahead and either enter your username and password or create an account if you don't have one. Otherwise, when you create your account, it's going to ask you to add some information about yourself, an address, your name, and the like. And I encourage you to do that because that information can be used throughout the process to streamline things and make it so that you don't have to type quite as much. If you have an account and you didn't do that when you set it up, you can do it later by clicking on the My Profile tab and go ahead and adding information under that Address tab. And to register a new copyright with the U.S. Copyright Office, you start the process by registering a new claim. Now, there are 3 steps to registering a copyright. You need to complete the application, you need to make a payment, and you need to send a copy of your work. Once you've submitted all 3 of those things to the Copyright Office, that's the date, even though it's going to take them probably close to a year to process your application, that's the date that will be on your copyright registration certificate, the date that they received all 3 of those items. So this first page is new if you haven't registered a copyright in a little while. And that's because recently the Copyright Office changed its pricing structure. And if you're registering a single work by a single author, there's a lower filing fee. And so this page is determining which bucket you fall into, whether you're falling into the single work with the lower application fee, or if you're falling into the higher bucket. So it's going to ask if you're registering a single work, which in this case, I'm registering the workbook from the 30-day challenge course and the associated written content that went along with it. And so it's a single work. It asks if there's a single author and owner of the work. And since I am the author and owner, I will go ahead and click yes there. And it asks if the work you're submitting contains material created only by that single author and owner. And in this instance, the answer is yes as well, which means that I fall into that lower price point, the $35 registration price point. Now, a notice is going to pop up to let me know what kinds of things I can't be registering on this streamlined application. And so if I were any of these things, I would need to go back and change my answer because I wouldn't be filling out the proper application. In this instance, that is the proper answer, and so I will hit OK. On this page, it's going to ask us what kind of work we're doing. Now, one of the new things that the Copyright Office is doing that's really nice is once you select one of these, it's going to go ahead and pop up and give you an explanation of the work. So if I were to select literary work, I would be registering a non-dramatic literary work like fiction, nonfiction, poetry, textbooks, references, etc. That is the correct answer here. Once you've read the description and feel like you found the best one for your work, you'll go ahead and click this box saying that you read it and selected the most appropriate, and then go ahead and hit this continue button. Now, our navigation tabs actually aren't over here, which kind of would make sense for us to jump from thing to thing. I actually have to hit this continue button right here for it to be accepted. Next, it's going to ask us to give the title of the work. Here, the title of the work is the 30-day challenge course content. Because I have selected that there is only a single work, I don't have the option of selecting other titles. If you fill out the other application for an unpublished collection, say, you will have the option to select the title of the larger work and the title of the work and all of those kinds of titles. Because I'm only registering a single work on this application, that's the only thing that I can select. It's going to ask me if this appears in a larger work, and it does not. Now, again, the new thing with this splitting of the application of if you've ever find out you're on the wrong application at a certain point in time, you can just go ahead and click this change application button, and it will go ahead and switch you over to the other application. Since we've entered the title of the larger work, we'll go ahead and hit continue. Now, this page requires us to decide if the work has been published or not. First publication is kind of a tricky concept in our modern internet era, and we don't have really solid guidance on what if some of the things we do online are considered publication. The old school rules and the things we know that are publication are if you offer it for sale, if you offer to distribute it so that others can distribute it widely without any restrictions on it, or if you offer it to licensees, etc. Now in this instance, I sold seats in this course, and so this content is published. Where it can get a little tricky are when you have things in what was traditionally a portfolio. Now, if you're doing that portfolio, say on Flickr, and you've checked the license through Getty, those images would be considered published. If you are just using it as a straight portfolio and no one could license your work there, then it's probably considered unpublished. As we've discussed, this is a published work for me, and so I'll go ahead and select that the work has been published. This will take us to the field where we need to fill out the rest of the information, including the nation the work was first published, the year I created the work, and the date of the first publication. Now, you will know if you have an international standard number, so don't worry about that. And you will know if you've pre-registered your work. So unless you have one of those things, you can go ahead and ignore those two fields. Now that we've filled out the information about the work, the next series of questions require us to identify who created the work. Those questions we'll go ahead and address in next week's video. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.